Hudson County View, live and uncut. And I'm your host, the guy whose voice soothes like Sean Combs and throws hands like John Jones, John Our Highness. And today, of course, the latest and greatest in Hudson County news. Thanks for bearing with us. We needed a week off last week, but obviously we are recharged and we're back. So, first of all, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Bayonne. This is actually their first meeting that they held in person last night since the COVID-19 pandemic started last March. And we had quite an issue in front of us. After about 4 hours of public comment, we got a vote on eminent domain in relation to the Bayonne Medical Center. It was a bit anticlimactic, as many of you saw, particularly those of you that follow me on Twitter. But we're going to talk a lot about that. We're also going to chat a bit about the Jersey City Board of Education's budget. They passed an $814 million spending plan, and that's going to come with a bit of a tax increase, but it's also a fully funded budget, so there's some mixed feelings there, so we're going to get into that as well. We're also going to talk briefly about Governor Phil Murphy and what he thinks about governmental contracts here in New Jersey with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. As we spoke about several times on this program, Essex and now Hudson County appear to be getting out of those agreements. So we got some insight on that. Just some brief remarks, but I think it's worth a quick summation. And on top of that, of course, we have a guest in the studio. And today I'm joined with Hoboken Business Administrator Jason Freeman. They've had an interesting week or so. I mean, not that it's ever dull at Hoboken, but between their groundbreaking on the Rebuild by Design, where Governor Murphy was present, that's where I had a chance to briefly speak to him. Of course, they were also joined by the HUD Secretary, Marcia Fudge, and many others. So we'll talk about that, as well as the new bike share with partnership with Lyft and Jersey City to make that all possible with City Bikes. So that and much more. But first, we're going to take a brief word from our sponsors.
Cutting-edge surgical care is right here in Secaucus.
Robotic surgery is safer.
Shorter hospital stays.
Smaller abdominal incisions, the size of an M&M. Here at Hudson Regional, we provide world-class robotic surgical care.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer a Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunnelly Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunnelly Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Hudson County View, live and uncut, John Our Highness. And as I just mentioned a few moments ago today, I'm joined with Hoboken Business Administrator Jason Freeman. Jason, thanks for coming in.
Pleasure, John. Thank you.
So, yeah, interestingly, we've had a lot of focus on just governmental things for the most part over the past week, as I would expect you to. So let's talk a little bit about these two things that I already mentioned, the Rebuild by Design ribbon cutting, groundbreaking, and also what's going on with City Bike in partnership with Jersey City and Lyft, that new bike share program. So just tell us about these two things and why this is good for Hoboken.
The Rebuild by Design, it's been a long time in the making. We're glad we're finally in this groundbreaking phase, and we're going to begin construction on the project. This is a huge opportunity for Hoboken, and something we're so thrilled to have the state, federal government assistance to really ensure that if and when there is another superstorm, we're protected. What happened to Hoboken a number of years ago really cannot happen again, and this gives us that opportunity to really make sure that we're fully prepared, we're covered, and that people are safe and don't have to worry about these things going forward.
All right, and then as far as the bike share?
Bike share is selfishly, I'm very, very excited. I love to use my bike share, and we've not had one the last few months with the phase in from Jersey Bike to City Bike, but the opportunity to kind of have all this synergy between New York City, Jersey City, and Hoboken is huge for us. It's great for commuters, it's great for people getting across town, and it's the ease of allowing people to get back and forth on a fairly inexpensive program, and we're really excited to kind of make it happen. Right now, I believe there are 7 docks in Hoboken. There's going to be up to 29 by June, over 300 bikes at any given time, so we're really excited.
And how could people find out, for those that do ride, when those dock systems become available, when the new bikes come available?
They pop up in the app in real time. So if you download the City Bike app, you're going to see in real time every single dock, how many bikes are available, how many open docks are available, how many e-bikes will be there, which is another huge feature that we're excited for. So.
All right, great. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the budget. I mentioned at the top of the program, we just had a vote on the Jersey City Board of Ed. We saw one from the Bayonne Board of Ed. So essentially, it's budget season. You guys have, I believe it's about $117 million, right?
We introduced our budget about 3 or so weeks ago. It was a 0% tax increase. We're really, really proud of it. We're still doing some conversations with the council members. The budget is now theirs. It goes from the administration to the city council. I've had conversations this afternoon with Councilman Falco. I've had conversations with Councilman Jabor, the finance subcommittee. So there's still going to be some tinkering, and ultimately, the budget is reflective of everyone's priorities. And once we all get in line, we're excited to adopt the 0% tax increase for the residents and have that budget reflect all the things we want to do going forward.
Now, like many states, you could probably argue all 50, but like at least many states, New Jersey's been very beneficial, a big beneficiary, I guess I should say, from the American Rescue Plan. Hoboken in this cycle got about $27 million. So tell us how that has been a boost here when you guys were doing this year's budget.
Sure, it kind of comes in like, there's 2 tranches of money that come in. One, hopefully soon, we haven't gotten it yet, but this year, and then another half next year. And we are using that money kind of in 2 phases. The first is on the revenue loss that we had last year. Some of it was realized, other parts of it were anticipated. So we're using about $7 million into this year's budget to cover the revenue loss. The other half are investments in the community. Infrastructure, nonprofits, our food pantry, our homeless shelters, all these different organizations that were hurt by COVID and needed to really pump in new money. And then on top of that, we're going to go back and we're going to do housing grants for people who couldn't make ends meet. We're going to hope to get them money to continue to pay their rent. And we're going to do small business grants also to a lot of the small businesses that really had trouble, but we're doing everything we can to kind of keep them afloat and keep them going.
And you'll publicize that application process when it's ready?
We're hoping that's going to be out by June 15th.
Okay.
So I have a meeting on that actually tomorrow, and we're going to try to launch that by June 15th, and that's going to be a full checklist that everyone just has to make sure they submit the proper paperwork, and hopefully everyone will be eligible for that.
All right, sounds good. So at the council meeting from last week, there were at least two votes. I mean, it was a long meeting, like most of them are. But the one that I want to touch on before we go to break is the one regarding the Monarch Plan. And this, of course, had a big consequence for the Department of Public Works, specifically that garage. This is something that residents of the 5th Ward, especially in that north end, were concerned about. And you guys were looking for, common ground. And it looks like you found it based on that vote. So just tell us what this means going forward and why you thought this was a beneficial vote for the city.
Sure. Our current municipal facility down on Observer Highway, I think, one, it's not in a great location. Observer Highway is fairly busy, and having trucks and garbage trucks going in and out is not always the most efficient use of space. And on top of that, it's an older building. It has not been updated in years, and we can find a better use and I think a better location in the north end of town. And beginning that process and going over, going over these hurdles gives us the opportunity to build a new garage, build a state-of-the-art building, an Irby downtown, which is, as you've seen in Jersey City. I think they have one in Harrison. They're these awesome developments that we're excited about. And then we're going to start rebuilding the north end of town, which I think the mayor has made a priority when he was elected, and we're going to continue to move forward with that now. And this is that first step.
Now, we heard from Councilman DeFusco, who also touched on some of that stuff with Irby that you just mentioned. But actually, before we get into that, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Hudson Regional Hospital, we promise to be prepared for your emergency.
We promise to provide world-class robotic surgical care.
We promise to treat you like family.
To provide accurate diagnostic care.
To provide the most innovative orthopedic care at your doorsteps.
We promise to treat your baby like our own.
To never stop investing in the best of spinal care.
To be with you every step of the way.
Here at Hudson Regional Hospital, we promise to take care of our community.
A brand new truck isn't just a brand new truck when it's tough enough to have best-in-class available payload and smart enough to know that a cab can also be an office. A truck equipped with best-in-class available towing that asks, why can't all that power more than just this truck? No, your brand new truck isn't just a brand new truck when it's the all-new F-150. Tough this smart can only be called F-150.
Hudson County View Live at Uncut. John Arhitis, still with Hoboken Business Administrator Jason Freeman. So as I was just starting to mention, Councilman DeFusco said that he felt like the mixed development that comes along with this plan may be just a tad bit excessive, like they wanted that one aspect of the plan down one story. Obviously that didn't happen, but just what did you think about that possibility?
Listen, I think all of these things require negotiation, they require compromise. And I think for a long time, we've kind of either let politics or other aspects of Hoboken kind of let perfect get in the way of good. And I think when you talk about all the moving parts of this with open space, a new garage, claiming that Monarch site, let's allow good to kind of lead this way here. Will we still have opportunities to tweak and do better? Absolutely, and we're going to try to do that. But this was an opportunity that we had to pounce on and not miss any of these milestones in the timeline that was created. And as long as we can continue to do that, I think we're going to be successful. And I hope Councilman DeFusco continues to work with us and understands how important this is not only to his ward, but Hoboken on the whole.
So speaking of Councilman DeFusco, there was another agenda item, as I alluded to, and this was an interesting one. This was about free speech, and this talked about possibly fining council members up to $500 per person that they block on their official government social media pages, mostly Facebook and Twitter. Obviously, it didn't have the votes. It was voted down 5-4. But what did you think about this whole saga, if you will?
You know, listen, we all sign up, and whether you're elected or you decide to serve in a civil service role in the government, that you're going to be a public servant. And that is something I take very seriously. I know a number of the council members take very seriously. The mayor takes it very seriously. And during this last year, it has been a very, very difficult year for everyone. And it requires public servants to stand up and take that extra step. And I feel very comfortable with what I did. I know a number of council members who went out of their way with the food pantry or the homeless shelter. And I think all of them can put their head on their pillow every night and say, I did the best I could. And if Councilman DeFusco can do that, wherever that might be, then he should be okay with that. But I think it's important when public servants sign up for this, they're here to serve the public. And that's what we all try to do. And I know Councilman DeFusco, I think, tries his best, and I hope he continues that.
So you personally don't block anyone on your social?
Listen, I get called all sorts of names by real people, by trolls. I do not block anybody. And you have to have a thick skin when you're involved in this game, John. You know it as well as anyone how much of a full contact sport politics is in Hudson County. So
sure, you get your black eyes and bloody noses. Absolutely.
Part of the fun, right?
Yeah, some people call it that. But now look, we heard from Second Ward Councilwoman Tiffany Fisher on this, and she basically said this was a political stunt. I'm paraphrasing, of course, and she said this is coordinated attacks by the mayor's office to try to solidify his re-election and keep Councilman DeFusco out of the race. So what do you think of that take?
Listen, I don't think the mayor's office was involved in any of this. I don't think you saw one quote from the mayor in any of this saga. I'm very comfortable where the mayor stands in his re-election campaign. I know the mayor is very confident of his record of the last 3.5 years, and I think that will prevail going forward.
And do you have any sort of formal role in the campaign?
No, I'm the BA for the city of Hoboken. It's a 24-hour-a-day job, and I don't have any other opportunities to find more time in my day. So this half hour today was a nice little break from the office. So.
All right, glad to hear it. Well, last time I was in the studio 2 weeks ago, you may have seen that the 6th Ward Councilwoman, Jen Giattino, was on, and she said she's considering a mayoral run, as she did in 17. Obviously, that didn't go the way that she would have hoped, but she's thinking about giving it a second try. So what do you think about that potential possibility?
Listen, democracy allows all of us to throw your hat in the ring. If you think your record can stand up to the mayor's, then that's the great part about democracy, and people will vote. There were new ballot boxes put around town in Hoboken today by the county, so we're appreciative of that, and hopefully the turnout will be there, and we'll see who the best man or woman will win. So.
All right, and she also talked about McSwiggins. I mean, as you recall, a couple meetings ago, they were having a pretty intense, I would say, discussion with Corporation Council about whether state or city regulations were followed for parklets, and McSwiggins ended up being singled out because there were complaints from neighbors, and there was a lot of people urging for them to move it. So what's the status on that?
So a number of those complaints were heard loud and clear. We've had a number of meetings now with both the bar owner at McSwiggins and the Shannon. They kind of share space, so to speak, and we're working on trying to find a win-win-win for everyone. I know they're one of the businesses that was hit very hard for COVID. We're trying to allow them to create more space. I know the governor's regulations are, I think, going to allow some more people to be inside or not have to worry about those percentage capacities. But we're working on it. I don't think it's as easy as some council members have said of just kind of picking up their parklet from Bloomfield Street and moving it to First Street. It's not as simple as that. But we're still working on that and having those conversations. So
now, she also said that Assistant Corporation Counsel John Allen, who's also ABC counsel, has been serving as some sort of quote-unquote liaison to the bars and the restaurants. So do you know what that is or what that means?
Listen, I know John works incredibly hard for the city, and I look at it, you know, I know Councilman Giattino kind of went through this hypothetical situation with the planning board. There's no one in the city who knows the ABC laws better than the ABC attorney, which is John. And when the bars want to do something or request something, I think it was important that John is the one who's able to say, no, you can't do that, that's against the law, or yes, or consider doing it this way, to make sure everyone's in compliance. Again, it comes down to not finding loopholes or things like that. It's making sure that the laws are followed, everyone's kind of in compliance, and everyone's happy moving forward. So I can tell you, John is not doing anything outside the scope of being an attorney for the city of Hoboken. I know there's a lot of chatter. People can say whatever they want. I'm very confident in the role that he plays. I know the mayor's very confident in the role that he plays. And I hope it's beneficial to the residents and to our restaurant and bar community.
Very good, Jason. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, John.
Really
It's a pleasure.
appreciate it. Yes, Greg, same here. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We're not done yet, though, but we are going to take another break.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers the quality of life you deserve in 10 high-rise rental towers with amenities such as the on-site Newport Path subway, light rail and ferry service, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams Supermarket is just outside your front door. A health and fitness club, spa, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. NewportNJ.com. Enjoy the New York skyline from Newport Town Square. Manhattan is just one path stop away or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Want to visit Newport? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. Go to NewportNJ.com for details. Newport has luxurious towers, great restaurants, shopping, New York skyline views, schools, playgrounds, a marina and yacht club, gym, spa, fine wine, fine living. It's incredible. It's you. NewportNJ.com. Newport. Live like you want.
Hudson County View, live at Uncut, John R. Highness. So I was over in the Peninsula City last night, as I mentioned, and I'm sure as many of you know. And again, this was the first council meeting that was being held with in-person availability since the COVID-19 pandemic started last March. So quite a decent turnout, I would say. I'd say roughly 100 people. And many of those people were affiliated with Hudson Regional Hospital, CarePoint Health, or BMC Hospital, LLC. Of course, we're talking about eminent domain as it relates to the BMC Hospital land. Hudson Regional Hospital is the current owner, and the city was entertaining the possibility of entering eminent domain. You may recall that the Hudson County Board of Chosen Freeholders they passed a resolution that would make it possible to do eminent domain on CarePoint's 3 hospitals. That's the BMC, Hoboken University Medical Center, and Christ Hospital about 1 year ago. We haven't heard much about that since then until now. And again, as you all know, it's basically been a real tooth and nail battle between HRH and BMC Hospital since June, when they both almost simultaneously announced that they were going to be the next operator of the Bayonne Medical Center. And I think that's putting it lightly. They've really gotten pretty nasty a few times here, and I'm sure it'll be a few more. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, what ended up happening was they ended up not actually taking any formal action. They tabled both these related ordinances, and I could say a lot more, but it was a long meeting, and I think the people who were there could say it best. So we're going to go to a long clip and then go to another break. In their first meeting in person since the COVID-19 pandemic began last year, the Bayonne City Council spent nearly 4 hours hearing from members of the public, Hudson Regional Hospital, BMC Hospital LLC, and CarePoint Health before they made the decision to table 2 ordinances that would have allowed them to start the eminent domain process on the Bayonne Medical Center land.
The process you're beginning is to change the name on the deed to the City of Bayonne. Technically, the Improvement Authority, where the City of Bayonne would be the receiver of that after the debt was paid. But that's it. Who operates it and how you get to pick an operator is a whole other story. We're not at that chapter yet.
We have communicated over and over and over to Mayor Davis. We've asked for meetings over and over and over. Give us the opportunity to come back and talk to you about all the things that we're doing for this, that we're willing to do for this hospital and for this town. You sent us on a mission. We accomplished the mission. Aren't you proud of us? Give us the opportunity to speak with you. From the events and headlines of the past years, it has become very obvious that our hospital has been held hostage by the virtue of the parcel of land that it sits on. This land has changed hands 3 times in the past year or so, and each time it has been used as a point of leverage.
We went into a fair bidding process. We met with CarePoint, and we had multiple discussions, and they eventually agreed to giving us the bid to buy this hospital. We had no reason to believe that there was any discussions that we didn't know of. I know Hudson Regional was speaking, as well as other hospital organizations, but they chose us, and we went further with our transaction.
So for the mayor, this is about preserving political power. But the worst part about it is that he's willing to saddle the taxpayers, you guys, the ones that voted for him, with $100 million in new debt for absolutely no reason. So while the mayor's in favor of this ordinance, it's our individually elected city council that has the final say.
This is not Hoboken. What happened in Hoboken, nobody wanted to operate the Hoboken Hospital. Here we have 2, I believe we do have 2 genuinely sincere groups of parties. As you stated, we're not here to decide winners or losers, and how this is framed when we go outside, I think is very important. So vote yes on eminent domain.
You have a satellite emergency room that you allowed to come into your town. You took the license away, by the way, and I disagree with Mr. DeMarco. Hospitals can close. Greenville Hospital closed. You took the license of Greenville Hospital to create a satellite emergency room in Bayonne, which both Dr. Kathaya and Dr. Singh and I fought, and this town still wanted to let it happen. So that's the reason why we're here.
I need to hear a lot more information. And having been through this process before, I can tell you there's no easy answer to anything concerning the hospital's continued viability. There's no easy answers at all. We don't have enough details right now to vote for or against eminent domain tonight. Let's get all the facts in first. Let's trust that the public will be best served by being told all the facts first also.
I think all parties are then compelled to be fair participants if the threat of eminent domain is sitting there. But this has passed already, it is carried. But I do agree it needs to be tabled. I just wish it wasn't with the threat of eminent domain, because this council needs to be provided a lot more information. See, break something like this, there should be some information.
I'm John Hudson with the Hudson County View, the eye of the community.
Hannah Pinto Properties, Jersey City. Shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces that address your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment. adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintoproperties.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
So, as I mentioned at the top of the program, just real quick from last week, wanted to talk about what I had a brief moment to get a question in with Governor Phil Murphy when he was in Hoboken. So we were talking about ICE, as I mentioned, so I think the comment speaks for itself, given the context I gave at the beginning of the show. So he said, I was gratified to see the step that was taken in Essex County, and I think we kind of predicted with the turn of the page of a new federal administration that would have a much more enlightened view on immigration and immigration policy, and that's a huge deal for us. Because we are, by many measures, the most diverse state in America, including a lot of newly arrived immigrant brothers and sisters. We want to treat them the way they deserve to be treated, so it's a good, positive step, and my guess is we'll see more. And coincidentally, just the day after I put this online, the governor announced that he was going to do $40 million in federal relief for undocumented immigrants. And of course, that was a plan that had been discussed, had been floated for a few weeks at least, but they actually took the action last week, shortly after this story came out, which I think is mostly a coincidence, of course, but it was still kind of fun for me to see. So finally, before we call it a day, let's talk about this Jersey City Board of Education budget. So about $814 million, as we said, and this is going to be approximate tax increase of $996 annually, and that's if your home is assessed at about a little under $500,000. So, you know, obviously there's some fluidity here, and what I mean by that is we still have to see what the county tax is going to be, the municipal tax. But, you know, right now that looks about where it's at. We can't really quantify that at a percentage just yet for those reasons. And when we heard from the trustees before the vote, you know, a lot of them, or at least a few of them, I guess I should say, talked about how they need more help from the state and the city. I mean, let's look at Trustee Marilyn Roman. She said, we got a terrible email from the mayor of Jersey City blaming us for all the woes of the people who are residents of the city, telling us that you're responsible for having raised an average $1,000 per household in the city. And he went on and said, no, you made a mistake here. We're the people who are the scapegoats here, sitting between the state of New Jersey and your city, our city. Obviously, doesn't sound like someone who's particularly thrilled with what's going on at City Hall. And she stated the current financial scenario is not sustainable for the long term, which seems fairly evident. And that was seconded by Trustee Gina Vertabella, who said we shouldn't feel bad for making sure the children get what they need. The city does need to step up. Enough saying we're going to take what we could get. And on another end, on the other side of the coin, I guess you could say, Trustee Alexander Hamilton was one of the three who voted no this past 6-3. And he said he voted against the budget because the tax increases annually are becoming a lot, especially in the midst of a pandemic. So what he said exactly was, I really want a long-term solution regarding this budget. I'm really sort of tired of this being the only solution we have because it should not be the only answer that we have to raise the levy all the time. So obviously, he took a pretty firm position here, but regardless, that budget was okayed, 6-3, so budget season over for the Jersey City Board of Education. You know, and it's been a tough year, you know, pandemic aside. The state aid cuts were really astronomical. I mean, we heard from Superintendent of Schools Franklin Walker, and we've talked about it before. I mean, around $153 million, I think, yeah, right about that range, 152, 153 million. And it's only going to be more as the years come. So certainly the meeting of the minds we're seeing between entities like the Board of Ed and the Council should be a good thing. With that said, we're going to call it a week, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you soon.